The first light slips under the curtain and touches the room like a quiet hand on your shoulder. And before the phone wakes, before the world remembers your name, a softer voice asks a question that matters more than everything that will happen today. Who will sit on the first throne of your morning? Perhaps you opened your eyes already carrying a weight you can't name, a hum of worry behind the ribs, the mind sprinting while the body is still. I see you. That gentle ache that says you're behind before you begin. That tension in the jaw that tries to hold an entire life together. You are not alone in this, and you are not failing. You are waking up human, sensitive, bright, and pulled by 100 threads at once. There is another way to meet the day. Imagine the morning as a room with two windows. One opens to noise, to urgency, to a flood of other people's stories. The other opens to a quiet garden where wisdom has been waiting through the night, patient as the earth. When your eyes open, your nervous system opens too. Breath deepens, heart nudges forward, thoughts look for a leader. Emotional neuroscience tells us that the early minutes after waking are tender and impressionable. The brain is listening for a pattern to follow, a rhythm to keep. If the first sound is alarm, the body learns alarm. If the first word is wisdom, the body learns wisdom. This is not magic. This is pattern and posture. This is practical spirituality. What you do with your first breath is a small prayer your whole day hears. You don't need to wrestle the morning into submission. You don't need to outrun your fear. Notice instead how your breath moves, slow, then a little deeper. How the shoulders loosen when you let them. How the mind, given a kinder focal point, will soften its grip. You can feel the difference between a day that begins by bracing and a day that begins by belonging. Bracing says, fight. Belonging says, arrive. Bracing tightens the chest. Belonging opens the ribs and makes room for the heart. There is strength in both, but only one gives you the clarity to choose wisely, to lead gently, to stay true when the winds start to rise. Many of us were taught to measure the day by how much we accomplish before noon, but the ancient voice of Solomon measures by a different ruler. Wisdom before haste, understanding before noise, discernment before display. He does not shame the worker. He dignifies the order of the inner life so the work has meaning. He reminds us that foundation comes before height, and that the fear of the Lord, the humble awe that reorders the self around what is true, begins the path that skill and favor will later walk. This is not about religion as a label. It is about alignment as a living posture. It is about choosing the voice that names you before the crowd names you. It is about remembering that at dawn, the soul is most reachable and the mind most willing to be led. So pause inside this moment that is still yours. Feel the warmth of the sheet, the weight of the blanket over your legs, the air at the edge of your lips as you breathe. Your body understands beginnings. Your body knows how to reset if you let it. When you turn gently toward what is steady, your amygdala quiets, your prefrontal wisdom comes forward, and your attention learns to serve what you value. It isn't complicated, though it is sacred. You are deciding what will be allowed to enter the gates at first light, and that decision will echo in subtle ways. How you speak to the barista, how you respond to a difficult email, how you listen when a friend finally tells the truth. Small choices at sunrise become the architecture of evening. Perhaps you're thinking, I've tried to start well, and something always steals the moment. That's honest. Life interrupts. Children cry. Messages pile up. The body remembers old patterns and tries to repeat them. Treat that not as failure, but as information. The mind learned a path, it can learn another. Repetition reshapes us. Gentle, consistent repetition rewires the morning's expectation. A day is a living thing. It will receive the tone you set, or it will set one for you. When the first tone is wise, your inner court knows where to sit. Your boundaries know what to welcome. Your courage remembers what to plant. And your words start building instead of breaking. The order is simple, but the effects are profound. If you could hold one image as you rise, let it be this: a quiet hall before the doors open, a single chair prepared at the center, the place where decisions begin. That chair is not for panic. That chair is not for shame. That chair is not for the hurried critic who has never built anything and never will. That chair is for the presence that steadies you, for the counsel that slows you to the pace of what is real, for the wisdom that runs deeper than your inbox and kinder than your fear. You are not trying to earn this presence. You are remembering it. You are not performing for it. You are receiving it. The king who presides over your first thoughts will preside over your next choices, and the next and the next. Ask yourself, quietly and without pressure, what has usually claimed the first throne of my day? Is it urgency or is it wisdom? Is it a screen or is it a stillness? Is it the voice that makes me smaller or the voice that tells me I am capable of building good things with these hands and this heart? Let the questions move through you like light across a floor. Let them reveal, not accuse. Let them invite, not demand. Where there is tenderness, honor it. Where there is resistance, bless it and keep walking. You are not late. You are here now, at the one doorway that always opens if you knock with a sincere breath. This morning, let your soul remember what your body already knows. Beginnings are seeds. Plant a seed of alignment, and the roots will hold you when noon turns loud. Plant a seed of reverence, and your perspective will lift when the small dramas try to pull you down. Plant a seed of gentle discipline, and your confidence will grow from what you keep, not from what you promise. Begin by choosing who sits in the chair. Begin by choosing the gate you will open. Begin by choosing the voice that names you before the day tries to rename you. When the doors of the day finally swing wide, you will not be empty-handed. You will have a posture. You will have a center. You will have a way to return to yourself when the wind rises. And as you take your first steps into the hours ahead, remember the garden window. Remember the quiet chair. Remember the throne that waits for the wisdom that has always waited for you. There is a moment between darkness and daylight when the room remembers your name and the day waits just outside the door. In that tender space, the heart often wakes with a quiet ache, as if it already missed something, as if it must sprint to catch up with a life that ran ahead in the night. The mind reaches for the nearest ruler and often finds urgency. It finds lists stacked on lists. It finds the old belief that productivity proves worth. Yet beneath the hum of worry, another truth is waiting with steady patience. Wisdom arrives before haste. Perspective sits before pace. The first thought will be a throne, and whoever sits there will shape the hours that follow. Some mornings feel like a hallway crowded with voices. Messages tug, memories intrude, the body tightens by reflex. When anxiety wakes first, it names the world in narrow terms, and the day becomes a maze of small fires. Start scattered, stay scattered, begin in rush, live in reaction. It is not a failure of character. It is the nervous system asking for a leader. Emotional patterns favor the familiar, and the familiar for many of us is noise. When noise becomes the sovereign, attention is taxed and clarity goes missing. A wise life cannot be built on a foundation that shakes under the smallest step. There is an older rhythm that does not shout. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Not fear as panic, not fear as punishment, but awe that places the self in right relation to what is larger, truer, kinder than the swirl inside the head. Or steadies posture, or loosens the jaw and opens the chest so breath can find its full length again. Or gives the day a center that busy hands cannot manufacture. In the light of awe, perspective stands up, and when perspective stands up, urgency sits down. Picture a quiet court before the doors open. A single chair waits at the center. Servants ready the hall. Candles warm the edges of the room. Before anyone petitions, before any disputes begin, the throne is set and the king takes his place. Only then does the court open. It is a scene from another age, yet it mirrors the inner life more accurately than most modern diagrams. The soul is a kingdom. The will is a gatekeeper. The first 90 seconds are a coronation. If panic sits first, the court becomes loud and confused. If wisdom sits first, the court becomes ordered and attentive. The same tasks may come, yet their weight changes when their ruler is different. The body is not the enemy of this coronation. It is the ally. Notice how breath arrives like a messenger with simple news that everything living moves in a wave. Breath in, breath out. The wave carries the mind back to shore. Shoulders drop a fraction. Eyes soften at the edges. The heart rate finds a kinder beat. The prefrontal lantern brightens, and the older alarms grow less persuasive. This is not pretending life is easy. This is remembering that life is deeper than its noise when the first chair is set in the right place. There is a common confusion that says feelings must lead and action must follow. Mornings test that theory. Feelings often lag behind truth. Feelings often echo yesterday's weather. When perspective takes the throne early, feelings learn a new map. They still speak, but they no longer drive. They rise and pass like weather as the inner climate becomes more stable. In that stability, even difficult hours become navigable because the compass was set before the wind began to bargain. The phrase "first thought, first throne" is not a slogan. It is a way of seeing the architecture of experience. The first thought is the cornerstone, and many stones rest on it. The conversation at breakfast, the decision to answer or to pause, the tone chosen for a message that could heal or bruise, the patience offered to someone who is carrying a weight invisible to everyone else. When the cornerstone is hurried, walls tilt. When the cornerstone is wise, lines run true, and the room welcomes life instead of bracing against it. There is a small ceremony available to every soul at dawn. No fanfare, no performance, just a quiet meeting with the source of wisdom, and the permission to arrive as you are. In that first minute and a half, the day listens. Breathe like you are returning home. Notice the room as if it were a sanctuary built for this single purpose. Dedicate the hours not as a transaction, but as a simple act of alignment that says the throne belongs to what is good and faithful and steady. The body understands ceremonies. The mind learns them by heart. If a part of you wonders whether 90 seconds could matter, consider how often 90 seconds of panic has bent a day out of shape. A single startled thought can color a morning. A single wise thought can do the same. The scale is not measured by length, but by placement. Early sets the tone. Early writes the legend in the margin that the rest of the page will follow. Early decides which voice earns the right to interpret what comes next. There is kindness in this design. It means the day is not decided by everything that arrives later with noise and urgency. It means there is a meeting at the very beginning, where you and wisdom share the same room and agree on the shape of the hours. It means even if a storm walks in at noon, you will know where the chair stands and who sits in it. You will remember the court and its order. You will remember the garden window that opens to a larger sky. The world will still make requests. People will still need what they need. Work will still stretch your strength. Yet with the right sovereign on the first throne, the same demands feel different in the hands and in the chest. The spine lengthens, the gaze rises, the heart answers from a place that does not have to prove its worth every minute. This is practical spirituality because it changes how the body holds the day. This is emotional neuroscience because it rewires what the morning expects to find when the eyes open. First thought, first throne becomes more than a phrase when it is repeated with gentleness over many mornings. The repetition is not a punishment. It is a path worn soft by faithful feet. Some days it will be easy to remember the chair. Some days it will be hard. Both days count. Both days build. Both days return you to the hall before the doors open, to the candlelight on the edges, to the center where the sovereign sits and the court finds its order. Morning can feel like a crowded market before the stalls are even open. Voices bartering for attention, lists leaning on more lists, a low hum of restlessness behind the ribs. There is motion, but no music. Effort without a center, endless busyness. No hierarchy. The body braces as if chased. The mind stacks priorities on a moving cart, and somewhere in the middle of the swirl, a quiet truth waits for its seat. Without order, even noble desires compete like strangers in the same room. Without order, tenderness gets drowned by noise, and what matters most slips to the edges, while what shouted first claims the crown. The old belief rises again with morning light and tries to run the court of your thoughts. Urgent, equals important. It sounds practical, even heroic, yet urgency often arrives dressed as importance while carrying little of its weight. Emotional neuroscience reminds us that the threat systems of the brain pull the spotlight toward whatever barks the loudest, while the wiser networks that hold values and foresight need space to speak. When urgency is mistaken for importance, attention never reaches the deep table where meaning sits. The day becomes a sprint from bell to bell, and the soul is left standing in the doorway without a place card. A sentence from Solomon enters like a lantern and brings proportions back into the room. Better a little with righteousness than great revenue with injustice. The words are simple and steady, and they rearrange the furniture. They teach that alignment outranks accumulation, that integrity carries a heavier currency than volume, that what is right can be smaller in size and greater in substance. When this line is remembered, the shoulders lower a breath, because the measure changes. The day is no longer a contest of sheer output. It becomes a crafting of worth, a shaping of character, a faithful handling of what has been trusted to your hands. Without this recalibration, the same painful pattern returns. Important work dies in a pile of small fires. The tasks that hold your future quietly wait at the back of the room while you stamp the same sparks again and again. The message that could heal is postponed by the message that simply arrived. The practice that would make you strong is delayed by the errand that only makes you busy. The conversation that would deepen a bond is replaced by a scroll that will be forgotten by nightfall. The heart knows this loss and calls it fatigue. The spirit feels this loss and calls it hunger. Order begins within, and its sequence is not complicated, though it is profound. Character, then calling, then relationships. Not as a slogan, but as a living arrangement of the inner court. Character sits nearest the throne because it shapes the way every decision tastes in the mouth and feels in the hands. Calling sits to the right because it directs energy toward what you were made to contribute, not what merely clamors for your strength. Relationships sit to the left because love is the context in which all true work finds its meaning, and all true rest finds its permission. When these three are seated by rank, the room quiets. The petitions line up. The hours begin to speak plainly. Imagine the court itself before the doors open. The floor is swept, the light is low and warm. The chair at the center is ready, not rushed. Advisors enter one by one and take their places. Character arrives first and brings steadiness, that sense of inner weight that keeps you from drifting with every gust. Calling arrives with a purposeful gaze, reminding the room of direction and craft, the specific good you are here to build. Relationships arrive with gentle strength, reminding the room that the crown is heavy and must be carried with kindness, that people are not obstacles, but the reason the court exists at all. A wise king seats counselors by rank, and when the doors finally open, the kingdom does not panic, because the order has already been chosen. The body responds to this inner arrangement. The breath deepens, as if a window has been opened. The eyes lift and scan wider, less trapped by the nearest flashing thing. The jaw unclenches and the neck softens, and the mind can hold a longer horizon without collapsing into the short loop of constant alerts. This is not about pretending that alarms will vanish. It is about granting your wiser networks the front row, so that even when alarms sound, they are weighed rather than obeyed. Calm does not mean empty of effort. Calm means full of alignment. Picture a simple page on a small table. Nothing ornate, only clear lines that invite clarity in return. Across the top, 3 quiet words wait like friendly guides. Being, doing, blessing. Being is a single line where you name the posture that will carry you with dignity, the way you intend to hold your inner world so the outer work has a place to live. Doing is a short list that respects attention, a handful of tasks that serve your true course rather than steal it. Blessing is one name or one face you will honor with presence, because love in practice returns you to yourself. This is not a performance. It is an honest ledger that makes space for what matters, So what shouts does not devour the day. When the inner court is ordered, even interruptions arrive differently. What once felt like an assault becomes a visitor that can be greeted and guided to the right chair. Some will be dismissed with kindness. Some will be heard and scheduled. Some will be embraced because they carry the surprise of grace. The same calendar stands before you, yet the weight of it changes, because authority moved from noise to wisdom, from impulse to intention, from hurry to holy pace. The room inside is no longer a hallway where anything can rush through. It has become a chamber where discernment lives. There is a quiet dignity in this way of beginning. It does not boast. It does not scold. It does not make grand claims. It simply seats what is true in the places of honor and lets the day flow from that ceremony. In time, the nervous system learns the pattern and begins to trust it. The pulse steadies sooner. The mind recovers faster when scattered. The heart is quicker to remember why it chose this path. What began as deliberate becomes natural, and what felt fragile becomes resilient. Ask softly which chair has been empty in your mornings. Ask which counselor has been standing in the doorway, waiting to be invited nearer to the center. Ask whether urgency has been given a crown it never earned. Let the questions drift across your awareness like slow light. Let them open a door without forcing one. The court is yours to arrange with care. The court is yours to tend with patience. When it is ordered, you do not become less human. You become more fully yourself, present to your gifts, awake to your limits, ready to meet people with the kind of presence that turns work into service and time into meaning. There is a strange tug at the edge of morning, when the world rushes in through a small screen and asks the heart to make sense of 1,000 voices at once. Eye still adjusting to light, breath still finding its depth, and already the mind is full of headlines and highlights, opinions and alarms, a weather of words that has not learned your name. The body feels it as a thinning of warmth across the chest, a quickened pulse, a scattered gaze. Clarity drains before breakfast, not because life is unkind, but because the first inlet of the day opened to a torrent with no filter. The ache is not weakness. The ache is a signal that the inner gates have meaning, and that what passes through them will shape the landscape within. Information is not the same as wisdom, though in the rush of our age, the two are easily confused. Information stacks without end and leaves the soul with the weight of unfinished conclusions. Wisdom arranges. Wisdom discerns. Wisdom sets a cadence that the body can keep. The nervous system tells this story in its own language. When inputs arrive like hail, protective circuits take the stage, and everything is judged by urgency, by novelty, by the next small blast. The deeper networks that weigh value and hold steady attention step back, not out of laziness, but out of design, because there is no room for them in a storm. When the storm is the first weather of the day, the hours learn to brace and never fully unfurl. An older sentence moves quietly through this picture, with the force of good architecture. The heart must be guarded above all, because from it flow the currents that give shape to life. Guarding is not fearfulness. Guarding is stewardship. Guarding is the tender strength that protects what is living and growing inside you, the way a gardener protects new shoots from trampling feet. When this posture returns to the threshold of morning, awareness sharpens. You notice how a single harsh story tightens the throat. You notice how a simple kindness in word or image opens the ribs and slows the mind to a human pace. The gates begin to feel real again, not as barriers to the world, but as instruments of hospitality that welcome what nourishes and decline what wounds. Imagine the inner world as a walled city at daybreak. Mist rises from the river. Merchants stand at the gate with their wares covered. Some bring grain and oil and the materials of lasting strength. Some bring trinkets and noise. Some bring shadows wrapped in glitter. The gatekeeper is not cruel and not naive. The gatekeeper asks one question that holds them all. Will this strengthen the people within? The answer is not found in volume or spectacle. The answer is found in what the body knows as peace. in what the conscience recognizes as clean, in what the mind can carry without breaking its own attention into smaller and smaller pieces. Many discover over time that mornings take on a different weight when the first hour is shaped by a simple kind of curation, a page of something that feeds the roots rather than only the appetite, a sound that calms the nervous system rather than excites it to chase. A view of the ordinary world that reminds the heart it belongs somewhere real, a patch of sky, a corner of window, the steam from a cup held with two hands. Then a single necessary check to meet the day's non-negotiables and nothing that drains the well before 9. The numbers are not a law. They are a picture of proportion. The effect is not theoretical. The effect is felt in the ease of shoulders and the length of breath and the clean line of attention that holds through the first true tasks. This guarding is not withdrawal. It is a way of entering the world without losing yourself to its loudest pitch. It does not deny sorrow or ignore need. It notices that sorrow and need are better faced by a soul that is not already frayed. It is the difference between a gate that stands on good hinges and a gate that hangs crooked, so every passing wind can swing it open. Emotional resilience grows in that hinge. Discernment grows there too. You begin to tell the difference between a message that asks for wisdom and a message that asks for panic, between an invitation that leads to life and an invitation that sells a quick erosion of it. The language of the body remains a trustworthy guide. Watch how your jaw behaves when the first scroll begins, and how it softens when the first intake is a line of truth with weight. Watch how your eyes move when the feed accelerates the pace, and how they rest when the view widens to something steady. Watch how your heart responds when the first words you hear are measured and kind, not as performance, but as a naming of reality that leaves room to breathe. These small witnesses tell you what the city within requires to flourish. They are not dramatic, they are faithful. In time, the gates learn the faces of familiar merchants. They learn to greet what brings nourishment with a smile and to nod past what only stirs the dust. Even the necessary arrivals take their place without stealing the morning's voice. A bill to be paid, a calendar to be checked, a message that needs a brief answer. They pass through without ceremony and do not claim the throne. The throne has already been given to something older and steadier, and the city takes on the character of that rule. Conversations soften. Work finds focus. Kindness becomes less expensive because you are not bankrupt of attention by noon. There will be days when the rain arrives early and the gatekeeper feels rushed. There will be days when an old habit slips in and the first hour is lost to a feed that leaves you empty. Grace belongs in this story as well. Gates are tended, not perfected. Cities are rebuilt brick by brick after long seasons of noise. Repetition is quiet and strong. The nervous system is plastic and patient. With each guarded morning, the pathways that lead to peace grow deeper and the detours toward panic grow less tempting. What once required effort becomes a rhythm you can trust. What enters the heart at first light becomes a kind of interpreter for the rest of the day. If the interpreter is harsh, everything sounds sharper than it is. If the interpreter is wise, everything is given its true size. That is the hidden mercy of guarding the gates. It does not promise ease, it grants proportion. It lets crises be addressed as crises and inconveniences be held as small. It lets joy keep its color instead of being washed out by constant comparison. It lets love have room to turn ordinary hours into places where presence is possible. So when the next dawn leans over the windowsill and the city of your inner life begins to stir, remember the mist at the gate and the merchants waiting with their covered wares. Remember the gatekeeper who is strong and kind. Remember that you are not a hallway for anything that happens to pass by. You are a home. You are a city with meaning and boundaries and a center that deserves protecting. And when the doors of the day open wide, let the ones who enter first be those who feed the roots, who open the lungs, who make the light in the room feel honest and warm. The rest can wait their turn or be turned away with a gentle hand and a steady heart. There is a certain hush in the hour before the world begins to ask for you, a thin gold light on the floorboards, a kettle heating somewhere like a small promise, and in that quiet, the soul weighs a familiar question that decides more than we admit. Will I wait for the feeling to arrive, or will I place a seed in the ground and let the feeling come find it? So many mornings bend under the myth that emotion must lead and action must follow, yet the body tells another story. The pulse steadies after the first step is taken. The breath deepens once the hands are moving. Momentum is not found in the wind. Momentum is planted. Hidden inside the early hour is a hesitation that wears honest names: fatigue, doubt, a low gray sky behind the eyes. It whispers that there is no point beginning until the perfect mood descends, until the path is clear, until the inner weather is bright. That whisper has a long memory, and it has rehearsed its lines for years. The nervous system, primed to conserve energy and avoid discomfort, nods along. Then time slips. Then noon arrives with a weight that should have been shared by the morning, and confidence lags behind like a friend who wanted to come but was never invited. An older wisdom enters the room and rearranges this sequence with a sentence that has weathered centuries. The hand of the diligent makes rich. Not rich as in noise or display, but rich as in substance, skill, trust, earned over time. The words are not harsh. They are honest in the way a plumb line is honest. They do not scold emotion. They simply hand the crown to diligence and let emotion take its rightful seat as a valued counselor rather than an unpredictable king. In that reordering, the work ahead shrinks to a size that the chest can hold. There is kindness toward the brain in this ancient order. Action, even small and chosen with care, lights the pathways that release the chemistry of movement. Dopamine rises not only as a reward for arrival, but as a companion to the first faithful step, and the mind begins to associate effort with relief rather than dread. The longer circuits come online, focus sharpens, decision fatigue eases. The task that looked jagged softens at the edges because the first cut has been made, and the piece now has a shape. The feeling follows the cut. The feeling follows the first stroke on the page, the first call made with a steady voice, the first line of code, the first stitch, the first measured word of reconciliation offered from a truer place. Think of the field at daybreak, soil cool and dark, a faint mist rising, the horizon just beginning to glow. The harvest you hope to gather at dusk is not waiting in full form beneath the surface. What waits is the agreement between seed and season, between the one who plants and the earth that receives. The early seed decides the late harvest, not with spectacle, with quiet fidelity that does not need applause. Yesterday's storms do not cancel that agreement. Tomorrow's weather cannot begin until this day has honored it. The field is patient, and it responds to the hand that arrives before the noise, before the market, before the town wakes and starts to spend the hours in 100 directions. There is a moment in many good days that could be circled with a soft pencil and labeled the hinge. It is the single vital action that begins before the gates open to messages and requests, the one movement that names the day before the day tries to rename you. It might be the first paragraph that finally exists on paper rather than only in your head. It might be the quiet preparation of a meal that says the body is worth feeding with care. It might be a note sent with tenderness that clears a weight from the heart. It might be the careful review of figures that brings light to a decision that has lived in a shadow too long. The form shifts with the life that holds it. The principle remains: seed before mood. There is a dignity that grows from this pattern because it keeps a promise that matters. The promise is not to be spectacular. The promise is to be faithful. Faithful in 15 minutes that would otherwise be traded for distraction. Faithful in one measured push that reminds the spine of its strength. Faithful in the steady refusal to surrender the first hour to whatever knocks the loudest. In time, the soul gathers evidence. I'm the kind of person who plants even when I do not feel like a harvest yet. That identity steadies the hands when the field is muddy and the sky is undecided. Emotional neuroscience gives language to the quiet victory that follows. Approach systems wake when there is a clear and bounded path with a visible first step. Avoidance systems calm when the unknown is narrowed by action. The mind does not need the whole road to begin. It needs a lantern's worth of light and the knowledge that the first stone beneath the foot will hold. That knowledge is earned by repetition, and repetition writes a line into the body that can be read even on hard mornings. Begin, and then the feelings will remember where to meet you. The world will still ask for you. The world will still bring the hum of alerts and needs and worthy interruptions. Yet a day that begins with a planted seed carries a different temperature in the chest. You can feel it when you lift a cup and steam warms your face. You can feel it in the way your shoulders settle rather than clutch. You can feel it in the rhythm of your gaze as it moves over the first real task rather than darting across a dozen unfinished starts. Confidence is less a mood and more a memory your body trusts because you have given it reasons to trust you. There will be mornings when the ground inside feels hard and the seed looks small. Those are not wasted mornings. Those are the mornings when the act of planting is itself the harvest of character. The day may still turn difficult. People may still bring their storms. Yet the hand that planted early has already told the truth about what matters, and the truth will speak again when the wind rises. A single faithful act becomes a shelter you can stand under when the sky shifts. Plant before you harvest is not a demand shouted from a field. It is an invitation whispered at the edge of light. It is an old wisdom that knows how human hearts move and how human work finds meaning. It holds no shame for yesterday's delay. It offers this morning as a new agreement. Put something living in the ground while the day is gentle. Let the feeling find you at the workbench rather than on the threshold. Let the soul remember that it is capable of beginnings. And when evening comes, whatever the size of the yield, there will be a quiet fullness in the chest that cannot be faked because it was grown in the soil of the first hour. There is a voice that wakes with you and stands close to your ear before the day has a chance to explain itself. A voice that can either steady your hands or shake them, that can enlarge the room inside your chest or make it narrow and airless. Many mornings that voice has learned to accuse, to catalogue faults, to whisper that yesterday's missteps are permanent and that today's hopes are naive. The body hears this and tightens, the jaw holds, the breath shortens. The gaze drops to the floor of the mind where old doubts live like shadows in familiar corners. This is not weakness. This is what happens when self-talk has been trained by years of survival and not by years of building. The ache is real because the damage of a harsh voice is real. There is a popular confusion that mistakes harshness for honesty, as if only the sharpest words are brave enough to tell the truth. Yet the brain does not process harshness as a gift. It processes harshness as threat. Threat turns the nervous system toward defense and away from growth. In that posture, even accurate feedback becomes a hammer that breaks rather than a tool that shapes. A steady word can be strong without being cruel. A clear word can be exact without being cutting. The difference shows up not in tone alone, but in the effect on the body. One kind of talk makes the shoulders rise and the breath stumble. The other kind of talk makes the spine lengthen and the eyes lift, ready to meet the work as a friend and not as a sentence. An old wisdom speaks with a carpenter's confidence and does not flinch. Life and death are held in the power of the tongue, not superstition. Simply the sober understanding that language sets the form in which experience hardens. Words pour the concrete of your day. Pour it hurried and crooked, and the weight of ordinary tasks will crack the slab by noon. Pour it level and patient, and the same weight stands sure. The first phrases spoken in the morning become the wet edge of that pour. They leave a finish you will walk on for hours. They decide whether the floor of attention holds steady when interruptions roll a cart across it, or whether it chips at the first turn. To speak as a builder is not to flatter yourself with syrupy lines that feel false in the mouth. Builders do not flatter foundations, they measure them. They choose sentences that are aligned and load-bearing, sentences that can hold the shape of a day without collapsing. Speak like an architect, not a critic. The critic is quick and proud and rarely responsible for anything that lasts. The architect is humble before structure. The architect respects what language does to cognition and to the felt sense in the chest. The architect understands that a sentence is a beam and that the wrong word in the wrong place can make a roof sag where it should shelter. Picture a workshop just after sunrise. Dust motes float in a band of light. A cord is stretched tight from one end of the frame to the other. That simple carpenter's line sets the wall straight. Press the bricks against it, and a room takes shape that will welcome a family, hold laughter, endure storms. Ignore it, and the wall looks fine until you try to hang a door and nothing fits. Morning speech is that line. It does not need to be long to be accurate. It needs to be true enough to refuse distortion and kind enough to invite your best strength to the table. With that line in place, the day can carry weight without shifting out of square. Emotional neuroscience gives a quiet map for why this matters. The networks that predict how the day will feel and how effort will taste are listening to the first words you allow to echo between your ears. Call yourself by names that shrink, and those networks will search for proof and find it everywhere. Call yourself by names that honor your design, and those networks will search for proof and find that too. This is not pretending to be more than you are. This is refusing to speak as if you were less than what grace and practice have made you. Prediction is the brain's first language. Teach it to predict good work done with clean hands and a steady heart, and it will begin to help rather than hinder. There are mornings when only 3 small sentences change the air in the room. One names identity with quiet certainty, so the soul remembers its lineage and refuses smaller labels that arrived from hurried mouths. One names direction with calm specificity, so the mind sees the path and the feet know where to fall. Not 100 steps ahead, only the faithful stretch in front of you. One names blessing, so love has a target, and the hours are not spent only on the self, because generosity enlarges the chest and gives energy back even on days that ask a lot. Identity, direction, blessing. 3 lines placed like timber on a leveled stone, not for show, for structure. When the inner narrator learns to speak this way, the ordinary frictions of a day do not disappear, but they lose their right to prophesy doom. A harsh email is just a message that needs a wise response. A delay in the plan is just a bend in the road and not an indictment of your capacity. The mistakes that still happen belong to the curriculum of a craftsman and not to the punishment ledger of a defendant. Language does this transfiguration quietly. It sanctifies the workbench. It names the mess as the middle of a build and not the collapse of it. It lets you pick up the tool again with hands that are not shaking. To speak as a builder also changes how you speak to others, and in that change, your own heart is strengthened. Words become scaffolding rather than weapons. You learn to place a firm truth where it can hold rather than throw it like debris. You learn to praise what is sturdy so more of it appears. You learn to correct in a way that preserves dignity, and the dignity you preserve in others has a way of returning to you when you most need it. The room you inhabit is made from your phrases. The people you love live in that room with you. Let it be a place where courage is possible and clarity does not cost kindness. Some days, the old voice will try to retake the microphone. It will recite its dark poetry with impressive confidence and a memory for every failure. On those days, the measure of progress is not whether you silence it in a moment. The measure is whether you answer it with lines that stay true and keep placing weight where a future can stand. The body will notice the difference. The breath will not hitch as long. The shoulders will not climb as high. The gaze will return to level a little sooner. That is what healing sounds like in language. Not a shout. A realignment repeated until it becomes the accent of your inner country. By evening, the day will have poured itself into whatever mold your morning words prepared. If the mold was narrow and jagged, the dried shape will be hard to carry. If the mold was thoughtful and generous, the poured hours will sit in your hands with a surprising peace, even if they were heavy. This is why ancient wisdom continues to lift its steady finger toward the tongue. It knows the physics of speech. It knows that a life is being built sentence by sentence, that the structure you live in tomorrow is being framed by what you are saying to yourself while the kettle hums and the sun climbs the edge of the window. Speak as a builder, and watch how your inner weather learns the difference between storms that must be met and shadows that can be walked through without alarm. Speak as a builder and notice how skill returns to your hands, because shame is not shaking them. Speak as a builder and let the carpenter's line hold you to what is straight and merciful, the kind of straight that allows for human curves and still keeps the wall true. In that workshop of morning, with light across the bench and the first tools laid out, you are not being tested. You are being trusted. And the house you are raising with your words will shelter you when the wind arrives, and it will shelter those who stand with you. And over time, it will feel like a home that could only have been built by someone who learned to speak with both strength and grace. There is a quiet way the day can come to life when the first moments are treated like sacred ground, a simple sequence that gathers the scattered self and gives the hours a center of gravity. It does not impress the crowd. It nourishes the roots. It begins small and close, almost like a whisper the body already understands. It begins with 90 unhurried seconds that feel like a hand resting on the heart. Breath is noticed the way you notice waves touching shore. The room is received as it is. The day is dedicated with a gentle awareness that the first throne belongs to wisdom and not to worry. The nervous system recognizes the tone of this beginning. Muscles soften. Attention widens. The mind remembers that it is safe to arrive before it is asked to perform. A page waits nearby. Across the top there is space for 3 simple lines that create an honest ledger. Being holds one clear sentence that sets posture and values, not as a performance, as a reminder of who you are when noise is quiet. Doing holds 3 tasks that serve what matters most, so effort gathers rather than spills. Blessing holds 1 name or 1 face that will be honored with presence, so love is not postponed until the end of the list. The page is plain. The effect is deep. The court of the inner life sits down by rank. The gates turn next. Morning inputs are chosen, with the care of a gardener deciding what enters a walled garden at dawn. 3 nourishing, 1 necessary, none draining before 9 in the morning. The words are simple, and the proportions are kind. The body testifies to their wisdom. Shoulders stay low, the jaw stays loose, the eyes hold steady instead of darting. Information no longer impersonates wisdom. Wisdom curates information, and the heart keeps its clean water. Before the world asks for you, 1 vital action is carried from intention to completion. It may be small on the outside. It is not small inside the chest. The brain learns that effort brings relief rather than dread. The day is named before the day tries to rename you. Confidence is earned in the fibers, not borrowed from a mood. The field receives a seed, and later, when noon feels loud, the memory of that seed steadies the hands. Words meet the morning like tools set on a bench in a shaft of light. 3 lines are spoken with the calm of someone who builds. Identity says who you are, with the kind of truth that makes the spine lengthen. Direction says what you will build today in a way that clears a path within reach. Blessing says how your presence will serve, because generosity refills the heart even when hours are full. These are not slogans. They are beams set level, so the roof of the day does not sag. Woven together, these simple elements form a pattern the soul learns to trust. Stillness that seats the right ruler, a ledger that respects what matters, gates that honor the health of the city within, a single act that turns intention into substance, words that frame a shelter and not a cage. The sequence does not promise ease. It grants proportion. It does not erase sorrow. It equips love to carry sorrow without breaking. In time, this morning feels like walking into a room that knows your name. The air is warmer, the floor is steady, the windows open to something larger than the news. When interruptions arrive, they meet a presence already arranged. When joy arrives, it keeps its color through the afternoon. When evening comes, the body recognizes a quiet fullness that was planted at first light. The gatekeeper has done faithful work. The city within has been tended, and the day, however ordinary or demanding, has been lived from a place that feels like home. The light has grown across the room, and the house has learned your new rhythm, a quiet order that began before the noise, a posture that remembers its center even while the world continues to ask and to move. You have seen how the first throne shapes the court within, how the inner ranks bring dignity to the day, how the gates protect what is living, how a single seed can tilt the hours towards substance, how language can turn a workshop of doubt into a house that stands. None of this required spectacle. It asked for honesty and a steadiness that respects the way a human heart changes when it is treated with wisdom and gentleness. The change is not loud. It is deep. It is felt in the way your breath keeps a kinder tempo, in the way your eyes hold a wider horizon, in the way your hands meet ordinary work as if it were worthy of reverence. There is a reason the oldest voices keep pointing to beginnings. Beginnings carry the blueprint that the rest of the structure follows. When the blueprint is wise, the rooms feel larger even when the day is crowded. When the blueprint is kind, the work feels lighter even when it is heavy. When the blueprint is true, the hours do not break you into pieces. They become a path where your character and your calling and your love can walk together without stepping on one another. This is what it means for a life to be aligned, not flawless, not untouchable, aligned. Capable of meeting trouble without losing its story, capable of receiving joy without becoming frantic from fear that it will vanish. If you listen closely, you can hear the quiet gifts that come from living this way. Discernment that arrives sooner and leaves fewer scars. Courage that does not need an audience. Tenderness that can stand in a hard room and refuse to harden. Peace that is not the absence of burden, but the fitting of it to shoulders that have been prepared. These gifts do not float down from nowhere. They rise from the soil you tend at first light. They rise from the throne you set, the court you order, the gates you guard, the seed you plant, the words you speak. They rise from the simple faith that what is done in secret at dawn will keep its promise when noon begins to test everything. So here at the edge of this reflection, let your soul ask the questions that matter most. Who sits on the first throne of my morning? What kind of city have I been building inside my chest? Which gates need courage and which gates need mercy? What single seed would change the shape of the day if it were planted while the world is still quiet? What 3 lines of morning speech would make my hands steady and my heart generous? Let the questions travel through you like a tide that cleans the shore. Let them reveal without shaming. Let them open space where the next wise step can appear without forcing it to arrive on command. When you rise again and the window glows and the floor remembers your footsteps, know that you are not starting from nothing. You are returning to a place you have already made holy by attention and by care. You are returning to a wisdom that is older than your worry and kinder than your fear. And as the door of the day opens, may the world meet someone who has been seated from within, someone who carries a calm fire, someone who builds with words that heal and hands that keep their promises. What would change if the morning you're about to meet is not a test to pass, but a trust to hold? If this time together brought a steadier breath and a wider horizon, let that be enough for now. The day will meet you soon, and you will carry what was planted here without having to hold it too tightly. There is a chair waiting tomorrow at the same quiet hour, and it will remember your name. If you wish to keep walking this path of wisdom and calm strength, this space will remain a companion. More reflections wait in the wings, measured and gentle, ready to meet you where you are. When you return, come as you came today, honest and unhurried. That is more than welcome. May the hours ahead find you seated from within. May your words build, your gates discern, your work carry meaning, and your evening gather a quiet fullness. Until we meet again, keep the light you found this morning. It knows the way home.